friends, what is up? Good morning. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. My name is Kenzie if you are new here, and in today's video we are going to be making up some new sourdough discard recipes together. I have been on the hunt for freezer-friendly sourdough discard recipes just because I have a ton of discard that needs used up, and I stumbled across a pizza roll-up sourdough discard recipe that I thought looked really good. I think we're also going to do some sourdough discard tortillas. I want to make tacos tonight, so I thought that that would be a really good addition to our meal, and then I get to test them out. And then there are also some cheddar crackers that I want to make. Those aren't technically like a freezer recipe, but they sounded really good and really easy. And then I also have pancakes and cookies on my list if we get to it. So I'm home for the day. I'm going to be in the kitchen cooking and experimenting, and I thought I would take you guys along with me. So grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's get started. Okay, so for the first recipe, we are going to make the pizza roll-ups, and it calls for 500 grams of bread flour. So I went ahead and got a bowl out and my kitchen scale and zeroed it out and everything. So we are going to start measuring out the pizza dough first because the pizza dough has to rise and we have to do a ton of stretch and folds on this. So this can all be working away and rising as we get started on the other things. So I'm just gonna start putting bread flour in here until I hit 500 grams. And then I will get it transferred over to this big bowl. And then we will add in our discard and the couple other things that we need. This recipe is actually really simple. It's just bread flour, starter, water, and salt. So super simple, super easy. I love recipes like that. Now, just from measuring all of this out, I can tell we're gonna get a lot of pizza dough. I don't remember exactly how many pizza crusts the recipe said it made, but the nice thing is you could take half of this and do the pizza pinwheels and do the other as dough. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna divvy up a portion of this for this specific recipe, and then I'm also gonna put some pizza crusts in my freezer so that whenever I just want to make a regular pizza, I already have dough done and made. So get that added into our bowl, and then I'm going to go ahead and zero this out again. Look at all this discard, friends. I have so much discard at this point. It's ridiculous. I have been saving it up in my refrigerator and just trying to accumulate enough to like do a big bulk baking day with it. But I'm definitely going to need to invest in a bigger container because Post alone is outgrowing this cookie jar very quickly. And then we need 400 grams of our discard. So I'm just going ahead and measuring all of this out. I did kind of forget to bring the discard up to room temperature first, but my cookie dough jar is so full that if I do that, it's going to explode. If you didn't know that, discard does still rise whenever it gets warm. So even though the discard is cold, I think by the time all of the stretch and folds and it sits in on the counter and everything is like completed, hopefully that won't throw off anything. I feel like pizza crust is pretty forgiving, but we will both see together. Okay, so here is all of our discard measured out. Like I said, that's 400 grams. And then we are just going to go ahead and incorporate that into the flour. Okay, and then we need 300 grams of warm water. And when you do this, you don't want it to be like super hot or anything. I mean like a little bit more than lukewarm, but definitely not too hot. Okay, so that is 300 grams, and that is going in. And then the last thing that we need is just salt. So do however many pinches you would like. I'm going to throw quite a little bit in there. And then I am also going to add some Italian herb. I love adding like basil, Italian herb, garlic salt, garlic powder to my pizza crust and my breads. It just gives it really good flavor. So I am going to go ahead and throw just a couple pinches of this in here. And then really quickly, because that water was so warm, I think it's going to bring the temperature at my discard up. So I am going to let this sit here for just a minute and kind of warm all of that through before I go to mix it around. And I'm going to clean up and come back to it. Okay, so got my area all cleaned up, and now I am just gonna go ahead and start incorporating all of this together. And hopefully the cold starter doesn't inhibit the dough's ability to do what it's supposed to. I don't think it will. I think everything can be brought up to temperature okay. Like I said, usually I do allow my sourdough starter to come up to room temperature. I just completely forgot about it, but that's okay. We are just going to go ahead and make it work. So basically, you're just going to combine all of this until it kind of forms, you know, somewhat of a cohesive mass, and then we will get in there and incorporate with our hands. I went ahead and grabbed out my flour again because if you've never made pizza dough, oftentimes you will have to add in flour because it becomes very, very sticky. So I wanted to get that back out just in case we needed it. But now all I'm gonna do is just kind of roll and push this down with my hand until we get a cohesive ball that is not super, super sticky and is just like very light and supple. And I can already tell that this is gonna need quite a bit more flour because this is very, 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 very sticky. It's actually so sticky that it's a bit hard to even work with. I'll show you what this dough is looking like. It's very, very like light and supple, which is something I have noticed about using sourdough in my bread and pizza recipes. The dough is just so incredibly soft, like way softer than like the quick breads and things. So I have really been enjoying the outcome of using like sourdough discard and things in recipes. Not only that, but it gives the crusts and the breads and things just such good flavor. So now that this is a cohesive ball and is kneaded really well, I'm gonna go ahead and throw some olive oil on the top of this and rub it in. And what the olive oil helps with is for it to not dry out while it sits here. So now in about 20-ish minutes, we'll do our first stretch and fold, and I will walk you through that. But in the meantime, let's get started on the sourdough discard tortilla shells. Also, my mother-in-law got me a new chicken shirt. How stinking cute! Isn't that awesome? I feel like I need all of the chicken attire. I want to get like the pajamas that I see everybody having and the boots, but I got my first chicken shirt and I love it. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and move on to the tortillas. And again, I'm just going to zero this scale out, and we need 210 grams of all-purpose flour. And I did forget to mention that you are more than welcome to use all-purpose flour for the pizza roll-up recipe. It does not have to be bread flour. I just prefer to use bread flour personally for pizza crust. But if you don't have bread flour, feel free to use all-purpose. Okay, so that is right at 210. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that in and zero that back out. And then it says 7 grams of salt, which I'm not going to measure out. I just always do a couple big pinches. Okay, and then next we need 56 grams of salted butter. Softened butter, sorry, not salted. So that is about 33. And mine is not softened, you guys, so I'm just adding it to a bowl and putting it in the microwave for just a minute. And then it says before we combine the next ingredients, we need to incorporate the butter and flour together. Just with a fork, roughly. I'm just taking that butter and pushing it into the flour mix so that it can begin to incorporate. And then we need 100 grams of warm water. Oop, way too much. Okay, so that's perfect. And then we need to put this in here. And then we also need 100 grams of our discard. And I have never made tortilla shells before, so we will see how this goes. I do like having them in my freezer though, but instead of doubling this recipe, I'm just gonna do one recipe and then see how we like it first before I make like a bunch. So basically it says that we need to knead this dough until it forms a cohesive ball once again. And then we will roll it out and cut it into 12 pieces for our tortilla shells. That is really sticky though, so I'm gonna grab some more flour. And if you notice that your doughs are sticky, just add flour in gradually. Don't do a whole lot at one time, but just enough to kind of coat the outside of the surface so that it's not all sticking to you. You don't want to add too much flour to like change the consistency or anything by any means, but enough to make this not stick to you and really difficult to work with is totally fine. This smells really good because of all the butter that's in it. Like I can smell the flavor of this, if that makes sense. And it smells really good. It smells like tortillas. And then it said once it is starting to form the dough, we need to knead for approximately 2 minutes until the dough is cohesive and not sticky. So I am going to just keep kneading this until we get that. And sometimes I kind of just go back and like push this in with my hands really quickly too. And I feel like it, here, I'll give you a closer. Like if you take your fingers and just kind of shove that in there and then roll it, it helps to incorporate it. I will say, you guys, that this dough is very, very sticky. It's very difficult to knead through the stickiness, but I think we are almost there. And they weren't kidding when they said that you might have to knead it a while to get the stickiness to go away. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is get my dough cut into 12 pieces. If you wanna make this into like a burrito tortilla, you can do 6 is what it says, so that you have bigger tortillas. So I'm just gonna, I might actually do these a little bit bigger, we'll see. And then basically we are just going to roll this into a ball like so. And then we will roll each one individually out. And I might be making these too big, but that's okay. First time, if they come out a little bit too big, that's no big deal. Also, friends, I cannot for the life of me find my rolling pin. So I might have to use a cup or something to roll these out with, which really stinks. But I looked high and low and I cannot find my rolling pin. Yeah, I'm literally gonna have to use a cup and roll these out, which really sucks. But we will get it done, no big deal. So basically 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I got 11 of these. And then you're just going to roll them out and flip them as you do it, like so. And this is probably going to take me a while because I am forced to use a cup. It did say to just get them as thin as you possibly can. So there is that one done. And honestly, these are pretty small, but that is totally fine. I'm going to try doing one of the bigger ones and see how much bigger it is. I might end up combining 1 or 2 of these if this is no bigger than they will be. But I'm going to finish rolling out a couple of these and then we will get them in the cast iron. So a rookie mistake, friends. I did not realize you needed to let the tortilla dough rise. Which is probably why mine are so small, but that's totally fine. I already have them rolled out, so not a big deal. Next time we go to make them, we will make sure we do not forget to do that step. But basically, you just need to get a cast iron skillet or a griddle or whatever you're using. It says do not oil this, and to turn your oven or griddle on a medium high. So that is what I have done. This pan is nice and hot, and then I have a little paper towel here to put the tortillas on whenever they get done. So I'm gonna start a couple of these and see how they turn out, and then we will move on to doing some stretch and folds with our pizza dough. And I'm just trying to make sure that they get evenly laid in the cast iron skillet. I can't believe I can't find my stinking rolling pin. I don't know what happened to it, but this is not the day for me to not be able to find it. So I'm just gonna sit here with this. It says that we need to flip it if we start to see bubbles or the bottom of it becomes brown. So I guess we wait. Kind of stinks that I forgot to let the tortilla dough rise, but that's okay. I'm still really excited to see how these turn out. I've never made homemade tortillas before. I know that that sounds crazy, but every single time that I find a really good deal on tortillas, I just buy a bunch of them and then I throw them in my freezer. So I have them at all times, but it would be really nice to just devote a couple hours, you know, maybe once or twice a month to making a big batch of these if I can find a recipe that I really like and enjoy. I don't know if you guys can hear my chickens or not, but they have free reign of the backyard and somebody just laid an egg. I can always tell because they do the notorious egg clucking. Does anybody else's chickens sing a song whenever they lay an egg? Because the whole entire neighborhood here knows exactly when my chickens lay eggs. Let me bring you over so you can see. It's not quite all the way like browned, but I'm trying to evenly flip these, but it is starting to get really golden and bubbly, so that's super exciting. Hopefully I didn't mess it up too bad, but that's just part of the learning process. If you feel like you screwed up a recipe, most of the time you could make it work. Like if these tortillas don't have like a lot of ply to them or something, I could always do like a taco casserole where you layer tortillas in a baking dish and put like the toppings and stuff on if they're not like super bendable. So most often if you screw up a recipe like I just did, there's many other ways that you can make this work. You just have to be a little bit creative. Okay, so here is the first one. It did bubble up quite a bit and it looks really pretty, but it's very hard. I will say that. The edges are very soft, but the inside is very hard. So I don't know. I'll test like bendability whenever these start to cool down. But I can already tell that these probably are going to break whenever we go to put toppings in them. So we will probably just be turning this into taco casserole, like I said. But we will give this a taste test whenever it cools down, and I'm going to get the other ones going. Okay, really quickly, we need to go ahead and do the stretch and folds on our dough. And stretch and folds are super simple. All we're going to do is grab one side of the dough and do exactly like it implies. So we are going to stretch and fold. And you can wet your hands down just a little bit with water. That will help the dough not stick to you if you would like to. But you just basically continue to do that until you get all the way around the dough. So we need to do this every 20-ish minutes, about 4 to 5 times, or until the dough has doubled or tripled in size. And you do not have to put it back into like a perfect circle. It doesn't need to be, you know, like perfect. You don't have to shape it after you do your stretch and folds. Just stretch and fold until you get all the way around and then cover it back up. And then we will continue the process. So I still have a couple little dough balls to roll out, but I think I overreacted because the next couple tortilla shells turned out absolutely fantastic. I think I just cooked this one way too long and very hard, very brittle. And I was a little bit scared that all of them were going to turn out like that. However, I did go ahead and taste it. So the taste is phenomenal. It's just obviously too hard. So then I didn't cook them as long, and these are absolutely perfect. Now, they don't look like a perfect circular tortilla because, like I said, I'm using a cup to roll them out. But taste-wise and look-wise, they're absolutely beautiful. They're very bendy. The only thing I will say is you can definitely tell in comparison to one that I didn't get rolled out as much as like one of these. This one did not bubble at all, and it's way thicker. So if you go to make these, make sure you get them as thin as you possibly can. I mean, it still has bend and everything. It's just way thicker. So that is just something to keep in mind. So my pizza dough has tripled in size, and I've done all of the stretch and folds. So now we can get started on the pizza roll-ups. So instead of using all that dough, like I said, I'm going to use about half of it. And this is very sticky, so make sure you get it on a floured surface. I just laid a piece of parchment paper down, and then I have a baking sheet over there that I am going to lay our little pizza rolls on. And again, I don't have a rolling pin, so I'm just gonna stretch this out as much as I possibly can. And these pizza roll-ups need to rise after we get all of our toppings and stuff on them as well. So don't worry about preheating your oven at this moment. If you go to make this, you need to let all of this rise with the toppings included. Okay, I thought using parchment paper was a good idea, but my pizza dough is just sticking to that. So I am just going to try and spread this out on my counter. These doughs are giving me a run for my money today, friends. They are so sticky and a little bit difficult to work with. But after you get this flattened out, I'm gonna go ahead and take some of my home canned pizza sauce and start putting our toppings on here. And I am just doing these as cheese, but feel free to add whatever kind of topping you would like. We actually made this pizza sauce that I am using together, so I will leave the video up above if you are interested in learning how to can your own homemade pizza sauce. And you can use whatever kind of cheese you have. I just have a mozzarella and provolone blend and then some sharp cheddar, so I'm gonna throw all this on here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and season with just a little bit of garlic salt on the top. And feel free to add whatever kind of seasoning you would like. But then basically all we do is we roll this up and then we will cut it. And let's all cross our fingers together that this rolls up okay and doesn't stick on me. And you do want to keep this like as tight as you can possibly get it, because that will make sure that all of your toppings stay in here. And then I'm just going to take my pizza cutter and roll them out. And they are kind of like a little pizza pocket twist. And I know that these are not going to be perfect because this is my first time making them. Nothing is ever perfect the first time you make it. But look at that. That does look really good. Okay, I just switched from using the pizza cutter to this bread cutter and using the bottom of it to scrape them up, and it makes them way like better looking. So they definitely don't look absolutely perfect. The way that they had them in the pictures was upright, but it was really hard to roll that dough super tight because it was so incredibly sticky. So some of them I've laid like a, kind of like a hot pocket, and then the ones that were a little bit better, I did put upright like a pinwheel. So we will see how these turn out. Now we need to let these rise and puff up for probably 30 to 40-ish minutes, and then we will bake them up and see what we think. Okay, friends, so I let those rise for about 30 to 40-ish minutes, and then I baked them at about 375 for 15 to 20 minutes or until they were golden brown. And they don't look like the picture at all, which I didn't expect them to because, like I said, this was my first time trying it. But I am going to go ahead and give this a taste because it doesn't matter what they look like, it's what they taste like. So fingers crossed that it is good. Wow, that is incredible. Absolutely incredible. That dough is so soft, but it still has that little bit of like chew that you would expect in your pizza crust. That is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I was thinking you could do this and make like a stuffed calzone kind of pizza thing too with your sourdough discard. Like you could get really, really creative with this. And the next time that I go to make it, I'm definitely going to experiment with the toppings and all of that good jazz. But I thought just to try it out for the first time, I would just do plain cheese because my daughter's a really big fan of just plain cheese pizza. She does not like all the extras. So I know she is going to really, really enjoy this. And I could not be happier with how these turned out. So that is going to conclude today's video. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me while I experiment with some sourdough discard recipes in my kitchen. I can't wait to use those tortillas and make dinner tonight. And I will definitely keep you guys posted on how everything turns out. Flavor-wise, like I said, they were fantastic. And maybe we'll do another video where we do a bunch of them as like a freezer prep. I kind of just wanted to see what I thought of the recipe before I went all in and made like a big batch of them. I really want to get to the crackers, but I know this video is getting super long. So definitely let me know down below if you guys would be interested in a sourdough discard cheddar cheese cracker. I've seen those floating around on TikTok and YouTube, and I think that they look really good and super simple. So I am definitely happy to make them with you if you guys would like. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will see you in next week's video.